here's the current map, and I think before I get into this, I want to mention thanks to some new Patreon donors. This is actually from the past month or so. Some of these are kind of belated, but I do appreciate your donation very much. Michael Davidson, Edward Davies, Trent Tubazuski, CDMA 531, Gregory Kerner, and Joseph Nixon. And I think Chris Tyne mentioned a donation, but I've not seen where that is. I'm going to have to look around a little bit more. And let's see here, a couple of pledges have run out. If your last name starts with M, R, W, or T, your pledge has run out. You can contact me if you think it's you, or just take a look on Patreon there. So anyway, those of you who are contributing to keep the webcast going, and hopefully we can get some faster internet in here soon, it is definitely appreciated. All right, then to those charts here. We do have a cold front coming out of the Rockies. There it is right there. And some very dry and dusty conditions in the Texas and Oklahoma Panhandle there, and even up in Kansas. There's kind of a neat dust plume there on the visible imagery, so we'll take a look at that briefly. However, the mesoscale plots, this is the Oklahoma Mesonet, and yeah, check out these conditions up here near Fort Supply. Almost 100 degrees with winds gusting to 45 or 49 knots. So that's pretty much a blast furnace there, and these are sheltered instruments. This is part of the Oklahoma Mesonet. The instruments are very well sighted there, so yeah, that is pretty much as bad as it looks there, and gusts as high as 52 there in the Oklahoma Panhandle this afternoon. We can take a look at these plots here and get an idea where the dry line is, and the best way to do that is to go from east to west. I find where the moisture starts falling off, like around here, 51 and 47, that is getting into the dry line region. So I would probably be inclined to put it somewhere like that right there, just west of Oklahoma City and pretty much right through Lawton. And a lot of times with a dry line that's active, we'll have a cold front up to the northwest, but I don't see anything like that up in that region. We just see the normal adiabatic cooling with increasing elevation out in that area. Here's the upper level map showing the medium wave ridge across the Great Plains right there. A trough out over the western U.S. and taking those medium waves and finding the location of the jet, which is right through there. That gives us an idea of where the baroclinic low is. So it's going to be somewhere possibly in Colorado there. Probably a cold front extending southward. Keep in mind this is a 6 a.m. chart. And then the surface warm front could take any of these forms here. So extending somewhere into the Central Plains this morning, and it's probably progressed out into the plains this evening. So probably looking like that right there. So this troughing here that's being caused by the cold air out over the Great Basin area. We have another ridge coming onshore, so things improving there in Northern California, and looks like another trough stacked back to the west there. And checking out the 850 millibar for our moisture return. Looks pretty dry in South Texas. Dew points running as dry as below 0 Fahrenheit at Corpus Christi, and even at Del Rio. It's looking pretty dry there. That's not to say that there isn't moisture. It's probably just kind of shallow there. It does look like we're seeing, okay, yeah, that's minus 17. Okay, yeah, that's going to be dry air there at Fort Worth. So let's check out the soundings and get a better look at that there. The evening sounding for Fort Worth is not quite in yet. but we'll pull up this morning's data. And there's Fort Worth, and the 850 millibar level is located right there, and we can see that that does cut right through the dry air. This is the elevated mixed layer. So the tropical moisture is pretty shallow, only about 2,000 or 3,000 feet deep. And above that we can see a little bit of cirrus, potential for cirrus overhead. Relative humidity is a little bit dry up in that region. And then looking at Del Rio, also fairly shallow there. Dew points running about 50 degrees. And then all the way down in Brownsville, also pretty shallow there, upper 50s dew points, but yeah, this is a kind of a poor moisture field, and we just haven't had much of a chance to recover that yet. Okay, we'll go ahead and go to the satellite, and this is the visible imagery. We're getting to that time of the year where we can start using the visible imagery a little bit more. We can see some of the subtropical moisture coming across Oklahoma and Texas there, and looks like some action out there in Kansas. That's the front coming southward right there. Some blowing dust being picked up anywhere from Eads and Kit Carson, La Junta, all the way over to around Syracuse and Garden City. And we can take a closer look at that here. This is a zoomed in view of western Kansas. And early on in the shot, you can see right here, it's going to roll forward in a minute without this blinking there. But yeah, right there at the beginning, you can see that surge of dust coming south along the leading edge of that cold front there. Let me get rid of some of these frames here towards the end. And there we go. That shows that cold front surging southward right there through west central Kansas. So indeed, we've got a pretty potent situation this afternoon and evening. Unfortunately, it's a little bit dry, so probably not much severe weather potential today. Let me take a look in chat, see what we have going on there. Robert Pleasant, Rod Chalfant, David Lumbert is a geologist in Arkansas interested in dialogue about orographics. Okay, yeah, we'll try to work something in as we go through the dynamics later this week. Mike Esther reports very windy there in Colorado, gust up to 60. Shirley Keast reporting 28 in Michigan, and looking for 50s this weekend. Christian Flock reporting 83 in Yukon, Oklahoma. Funwood Tech is with us, and Daniel Whitaker. Breezy and mild in North Carolina. Andrew Hotchkiss reporting a low volume. Guess we can probably take that up just a little bit. I actually turned it down before I went on this evening because I thought the microphone might be running a little bit hot. Erica Baker, Coffeyville, Kansas, 76, fair skies. Rat Bastard, San Francisco, joining us. Megan John, mild 41. Ryan Toomey's down there in Florida watching the wildfires out of control. Robert Pleasant mentioning Weather Nerds is a good site. Mike Estwick looking at the cloud streets. And Ryan Toomey's mentioning the smoke on Go 16 there. Smoke clouds stretched out for hundreds of miles. And let me see. Let me check what's going on with the volume here. I think I want to make sure Windows has not changed the volume levels here. It did. Thanks, Microsoft. I have no idea why it did that. I don't have a handle on why it gets turned down in this properties. Anyway, I think we've got that fixed, so I think we should be back to normal here. But yeah, thanks for mentioning that, and let's keep going here. All right, let's see if we can find some of that smoke there. I guess that could be smoke. I really don't know. I'm going to have to I would have to look at some data, but just offhand, due to the extent of that, I'd be inclined to think that's dust there. For the smoke, I think we would have to go all the way down to Oklahoma. Let me see if I can recenter that. Okay, coming up here, let's see. Yeah, there's a plume right there in western Oklahoma. In fact, it looks like 3 or 4 of them. That would be out north of Clinton and maybe northwest of Weatherford. And I'm seeing this little plume taken off up to the north. I wonder if that's a little bit of pyrocumulus. It definitely doesn't fit the consistency of these other clouds to the south. So, yeah, the blast furnace is feeding those fires down there, and that's another look at what's going on. Those fires appear to be in this area around Watauga. Gusts up to 41 there, so yeah, that's definitely a problem for that area. Okay, we'll put it together here with the isobars and thickness. Here's we've got this cold front extending through New Mexico and Arizona, warm front through Kansas, and out to the boot heel of Missouri there. And then we know we have a dry line extending from western Oklahoma, probably southward into Texas, kind of like that right there. So this is a fairly simple frontal system there in the Central Plains, and that's going to push eastward over the next day or two, and that should allow some of the cold air from the Great Basin and northern plains to filter southward there. So we'll go ahead and look at the preview with the NAM model. And there's how things are looking this evening here. We warmed up pretty good there. Temperatures almost 100 being indicated there on the NAM. And this is showing the cool down overnight. The cold front is surging through the panhandles into the Plainview and Altus area right there. This is around midnight, and then that will be coming close to the Dallas area around dusk, or around dawn. So there's the front during the morning hours. I think if we had about maybe 12 or 24 more hours of moisture recovery, we might be looking at storms, but not with the current conditions here. Tomorrow, the front will continue moving down the I-35 area in Texas and through Arkansas there. And then it looks like it kind of stalls out there in southeastern Texas, through northern Mississippi there. And we've got some very cool air coming down. Temperatures down into the 40s by Wednesday night. And then a very rapid warm-up out there in West Texas. So we'll have to look at the extended NAM and the GFS to see if we have any moisture for this weekend. Okay, and this is probably a good time to start looking ahead and see what's going on this weekend. So let me bring the maps up here. I guess we can start out with the dynamics. Current chart is going to be looking like this right here. Very good trough moving through Colorado right there. Most of the ascent is north of I-70, north of Garden City into the Grand Island and Rapid City area. And it looks like not a whole lot of lift working on the area south of I-70. So we're still kind of under the influence of that ridging out to the east, and only this very broad, weak trough moving through the area. Just very modest height falls appear to be coming in this evening. And by tomorrow morning, most of the energy heading for eastern Nebraska and Iowa. And looks pretty quiet there in Texas for the next 24 hours. Okay, so we'll head to the GFS, and there's our Great Plains system. Cold front moving into Texas overnight there. Warm front moving up into Missouri and Illinois there. So conditions warming up out there in the Midwest, at least temporarily. Here comes some snow from Sioux Falls and Valentine, Nebraska. That'll be pushing into southern Wisconsin. Kind of a compact system right there. And the model does look to be pretty dry moving through Texas. So there's the system by Wednesday. And Green Bay looks like it might be a tiny bit north of this precip band. Looks like most of the snow might be just south of Green Bay and north of Milwaukee there. And then, of course, it will be crossing over into Missouri Wednesday night there. Or into Michigan, I'm sorry. One of those M states. Okay. Very slow-moving cold front entering the southeast U.S. right there, and it is dry. High pressure coming in behind. There's the cooling coming up for the middle of the week. So Friday morning we're starting out with high pressure there around the Chicago area, and the moisture return already starting there in Texas. Appears the next system is already in New Mexico by Friday, and it appears we have just enough moisture for some upslope precip. And let me take a forecast sounding. This is going to be for, I think, on Friday evening. Looks to be very poorly capped. Not a whole lot of moisture. This is kind of a cold pattern. Temperatures around 50. Let me take a sample down around San Antonio. So I'm trying to get an idea of the character of the air mass, and 63, that's pretty cool there for 0Z. So it appears this is a pretty good chunk of cold air kind of lodging there across Texas, and as the next upper level system approaches, we're just kind of getting an upslope pattern, kind of a cool season pattern going on there in Texas. And probably a lot of this will be elevated. Let me take a sample there in Dallas during the Saturday morning hours. And yeah, it does look cold. Some fairly cool temperatures aloft there, but I don't see a whole lot of convective instability. Those values are pretty low. So I guess we're not going to be looking at much severe weather in the southern plains this weekend. So there goes our outgoing system, and that just pulls more cold air southward. So this is kind of the reign of the polar highs, April 2018. Very cold pattern. Looks like a little bit of an Alberta clipper coming southeast around the 24th. There goes the cold air into Texas around the 25th. The Gulf is not open. In fact, we got northerly flow there. And let's see, we don't pull any moisture up from the Gulf until probably the 27th. So I think we have a ways to go until spring thunderstorms start up once again. So maybe a shot here around Saturday the 28th. Another big high. Okay, this is a 1032 millibar high. This is originating from the Great Lakes and going backwards. Yeah, that's the Hudson Bay area. So that's heading south and keeping the eastern half of the country cold around the 30th. And we will break out of this pattern eventually. It's probably just going to be May before that happens, but at least that will give the southern U.S. a bit of a break, because this is the middle of tornado season down there. And it's nice to have severe weather. On the other hand, it does definitely cause a lot of problems down there. So anyway, we'll be expecting things to get kind of active there in May, and we should have a lot to look at by then. So in the meantime, just kind of cool, and we'll just try to cover it the best we can here. One last look at chat here. Anybody looked at the icon forecast model? Good question. I don't think I've even heard of that German model. Appreciate that, Mike Estwick. I'll take a look at that. Okay, it appears the audio changes we made have fixed things. And Tom Savage bringing the meteorology lab with him to the store. All right, very good. And Mike Estwick mentioning the Meteo Center site is where that icon model is. And let's see, I think that'll probably do it for today. I appreciate you all checking in. Who knows, maybe we'll have some clouds tomorrow for the drone. There was really not much to look at, so hopefully things will pick up a little bit down here, and we'll see how things go. All right, thanks everybody. Hope you have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.